there's got to be a point in all of our lives when something happens and we become a seeker.
So, welcome everyone to the Seekers of the Eternal podcast. I'm really so feeling blessed tonight to have Illuminati Congo as our guest tonight. And we look forward to really diving into his story and a lot of the things that, man, I've been bugging out to for a couple of years now. So, as always, I like to begin with a little breath work just to calm and prepare ourselves for the conversation. So with this technique, it's just a short and long double inhalation. And then we tense in a low, medium, high, all the muscles in the body. And then we're going to exhale and relax with the double exhalation. It sounds like this. And then we tense all the muscles in the body and then we relax, release and feel that way. So let's begin by just taking in a deep, normal breath and all the way out. And now double inhale and tense. Tension in all the muscles, low, medium, high, vibrate with willpower. Exhale, relax. Release and feel, dissolve. Again, inhale and tense. Low, medium, high tension in all the muscles, vibrate with will. Exhale, relax. Release and feel, dissolve, relax. Last round, inhale and tense. Low, medium, high, vibrate with willpower. Exhale, relax. Release, feel, dissolve. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, dearest friend, beloved God, great masters of self-realization, be with us tonight, guide our conversation, help wisdom to flow through us, and let us be channels of light for your work in this world. Om, peace, amen.
Amen.
So welcome. Tonight we've got Jahn Hooks, aka Illuminati Congo. Man, finding your work, I know you've been doing it for a long time, but it's relatively new to me. I discovered it during the lockdowns. It was after first I heard I just I found the work of Landrell in 2020. I saw and listened to a podcast with him with East Forest. And that's how I got tuned into Landrell. And I was like, wow, this is the kind of music I was hoping existed, but I hadn't found it yet. Found his work. And then that led me to discovering your offerings. And it was such a trip because in 2020, during those lockdown periods, everybody's like, whoa, the world's ending. What's going on here? You know, I didn't see a lot of art being made during that time.
Right.
A lot of people were kind of struggling, just trying to get their footing. And I was like, in 2020, you put out 9 singles, 5 EPs, and 4 full-length albums from my count. And I was just like, who is this guy? You know, and all the collaborations that you were doing, connecting with friends and recording music during that time was just blowing my mind. So I want to maybe just kind of dive into that, take us back to 2020 when you were creating all that music during that time. It was so inspiring to me. I'm like, man, somebody is still doing it out there. So it was really nice to be able to have new music coming out and just of such a high caliber too. So yeah, maybe just tell us a little bit about what it was like producing music in 2020.
Well, I had made the decision that I was going to do that for that year prior to the news campaign propaganda advertisements of the thing in 2020. So when it started happening, one, I was just like, okay, well, I must just stick to my game plan because this was my game plan. And two, there was a lot of extra time. A lot of it's like, why not it made it easy
Hmm.
to do it during that time because things were a little different uh, timing wise. Things were able to slow down, and since I already had the game plan and already had most of the music ready, it just flowed naturally. Uh, and like I made probably half of it during that year, and probably half of it I had already prior, uh, ready to go.
Mm.
Um, but it was good making music during that time. Simultaneously, it was uh, I felt somewhat isolated as far as is the amount of artists who were willing to say anything in regards to what was happening around at the time. Um, I've always seen music or hip hop specifically as a way uh, to speak up for lesser known narratives, lesser heard or cared for narratives, and there wasn't much of that, and still hasn't been much of that. Uh, and I did a couple of songs to that, yet simultaneously, even the songs themselves get links under them now. Like they're listening to the lyrics of music now and putting their paid for advertisement links under these
Uh-huh.
songs now. And so uh, I'm sure a lot of artists had to question like, is it worth it to risk my reach and my career to even speak how I'm feeling at if they felt any different way other than the main narrative that was being prescribed to people.
Hmm. Yeah, it becomes like such a bold move to go out and express your feelings in the way that you see the world these days, because people who maybe just have a different perception of reality, come in and give their opinion on things when they're not even sure what you're saying. Sometimes it can be so, but I guess that's the, those, for me, that's what I gravitate to, is people that are really doing that still and able to really know who they are and to be able to put out music like that. To I guess to back up, like just kind of running, your bio here for people that aren't familiar. I just assumed everybody already knew, but I guess I should open up a little bit. So yeah, you're out of Chicago, and on on Twitter, I like the description here because it's beyond what I would say conscious hip hop. You hear that word, conscious hip hop, but when I heard your music, I was like, okay, this is actually conscious hip hop. But so under the title occult, classic, comedic, contemplative, contradictory, creative, crypto, crystalline, captivating, tantric hip hop that lightens the heart. And yeah, I think that's a proper description of the way that it feels. It's so
Thank
far beyond, I think, what people are calling conscious hip hop right now. Mhm.
thank you. Yeah, I I love consciousness. That's how we're doing anything that we're doing right now. So, but I do think that's sort of indescript because of that same reason that conscious is everything. Everything, the underlying thing of everything is consciousness. So everything is conscious hip hop or consciousness hip hop. And for me, when I listen to hip hop, all types of hip hop, uh, it could be the most gangster, most drug filled, the most deplorable type of subject matter, but I can still hear the divine. and still hear the consciousness, because it's
Mm.
still just consciousness expressing. And so it's all conscious hip hop to me, somewhat, because the ear is conscious.
Mm.
But I that's why I put these different names on what I do, because it's contemplative, it's it's crystalline, or like crystals are symmetry found in nature. And so that's sort of what a rhyme and a rhythm and a rhyme are, somewhat like symmetry in sound. So we're able to create crystals with certain type of wordplay.
Mm.
There's this book, The Language Crystal. Uh, it's called The Complete Solution to Civilization's Oldest Puzzle, and it's all about language and how language is a crystal. And you can see this in language through so many aspects. I wrote a book on it, but when you just look at the shapes of letters, of all letters, they all are, uh, somewhat, you can see them revealing, uh, angles and mathematical principles in the way that these, uh, letters are formed. And if they're laid, especially if they're laid on a grid, certain languages. Uh, and this is, so that means even in the alphabets, there are some type of symmetrical, connections that exist within these words. Uh, it's it's a To delve into the word and the language. It's a very abstract, uh, concept. So I don't know how deep I'm ready to go down that rabbit hole at the moment.
Hmm. I feel you. Yeah. Yeah. It was, I had always thought, I had the thought in my mind about hip hop music, specifically, all music and lyrics really are this, but hip hop music, it seems like really carries this strongly. This idea of affirmation and it's almost like casting a spell with the type of words that that you use.
Mhm.
Like if you're not there yet, you're using this affirmation and talking about where you're gonna be, as if you're already there. A lot of hip hop artists use, and then I was
It works for the good and for the bad. Like I'm
Mhm.
like I'm ready to die and cancel clear, but people say that, and sometimes it ends up being their destiny
Mhm.
sooner than you would think.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like such a powerful thing to be working with, especially if you're writing like really catchy rhyming tunes and you have people repeating those.
Mhm.
The responsibility, it seems like, for people who are writing those kind of spells, uh now it's like, when I'm listening, the more that I practice meditation, and then I kind of tune into and listen to lyrics more and more, it's like I it's so much more difficult for me to, like you said, hear the God behind it, because I'm just like, man, I don't want to be filling my brain with these kind of spells. So recognizing that I could still have a connection to this type of music while still pouring good, conscious expanding lyrics into my mind with the type of music that you're making, it was such a gift. It's like, all right, cool, like I can tune back into this kind of music that I like, but it doesn't have to be detrimental to my meditation practice as much.
For sure, for sure. And so back to what I was saying before, I'll use music that is the most dense and, for spiritual practice as well. But it's sort of like the Agori practice, where uh, where they meditate with dead bodies, or will take skulls and break the face off and make it a bowl so that they can eat all their meals. The only meals they eat are from that skull. Uh, it's similar to that practice of being able to go. So does that mean that that's the only environment and type of thing an Agori would immerse themselves in? No, it's just part of the sadhana. We require these times in just in the purity of of just scripture of doing uh the most beneficial affirmative, the most positive vibes around us, to be able to venture into those realms. It's like there's a time to be in the heavens, there's a time to be immersed in the dirt, there's a time for it all. But you can't appreciate the the darkest music without you can't appreciate the divine in the darkest music if you're not able to connect with the divine uh just on your natural tribe. So that's I don't encourage people to just surround themselves with death metal and gangster rap and things like that and make it a spiritual path. But make the stuff that you know is your spiritual path, your scriptures, your yoga, your breath work, your prayer. Do that. But when you immersed into the most dense parts, it's it's so easy to see divine there because you're already doing the heart work.
The heart work.
Yeah,
There we
because you're
go.
already
Yeah.
doing yeah.
Hmm. Thank you for that. I resonate with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. My artwork tends to pull from the dark side as well. My background is, growing up playing in heavy metal bands, seeking the most extremes. That was where I was looking when I was younger, and I appreciate those cultures because I know that's where people are really looking, seeking, and searching for truth, is usually in those extremes. A lot of times when you get out of the main and you start to um, get into really looking at the fringes. So I resonate with that, both of those cultures in that way. And a lot of the thing that really kind of piqued my interest, well, many different things, but on the spiritual path was really discovering the Bardo Thodol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and recognizing that, man, there are people out there who are practicing to stay lucid in between the moment of death onto the next life. And that's a possibility. So opening that ability in my mind as something that we could practice and work on, that became so fascinating to me. And I couldn't really find any other friends that were thinking like this. I was just, I would talk about it, and to me, it was just so, it's like, these are the secrets, this is it. And everybody just is kind of weirded out by having a bit of a fascination and an interest in the moment of death. I know you put out that song recently, DIE, Do It Every Day. And yeah, that was another one. When I saw that, I was like, wow, this is, I love this. As I've been making artwork around that idea, just like in the Bible talks about, I die daily, the practice of meditation, learning that it's possible through, becoming a master of being able to slow down the breath till you're not breathing, slow down the heart rate till you can become in a state of suspended animation and truly die every day. And the ancient texts and sages tell us that this is a possibility. This is something we can do, and even hidden within the Bible.
Yeah.
And I've really, that I practice Kriya Yoga. I'm initiated into Kriya Yoga under Paramhansa Yogananda. And the practice of that is really learning to do that, to learn how to die every day, just like Christ talked about. Wondered if maybe you want to talk about a little bit about that subject, as it's really near and dear to me.
Yeah, with every breath, uh, the expiration is the word for the exhalation. It's another word for it, and that's to expire. To So with every exhalation, I see every inhale as a birth, and every exhalation as a death. And so to be aware, that's how it's easiest to cultivate this awareness of life, when if whether birth or death is occurring, is through breath. Now, if the physical is not here, uh, what is there still breath? And that's a good question. There's a type of breath, possibly. Uh, well, here's one thing. When we're defining bodies as well, and death and transitions, I see any body, any form, as physical. Physical is the word for me that just describes form. And so when a person's physical body dies, they still have a form of sorts that carries on. Uh, and it's still a physical thing of sorts. And I say of sorts because the way most people look at the word physical, they've entrapped it somewhere. For me, I see phi, like the spiral phi, the golden mean or golden ratio phi, or
Mhm.
similar to Fibonacci, the phi. And then I see cycles, cycles of these of phi cycles, physical. Uh, you can also see the word ocCult in physical, uh, which uh, can be known as overcoming death. ocCult, ocCult. So I go to these roots of words, not because I think that the historical etymology of these words are connected, but the sound, any type of sound similarity creates a similar cymatics. Cymatics is the sound. It's just so interesting that sign has first is that if that's what's connected to a symbol, like a gong that you hit on, percussion, that's a symbol. But the everything around us is symbols. Everything we
Mhm.
look at is the symbol for something else behind it, and it's
Mm.
created by sound. And
Mm.
we could go so much deeper into this, like chromosomes, our body's chromosome. We wouldn't biologically be here without chromosome, but chrome is related to sound, and it's also related to color, tones, the color tone, the sound tone of something, the
Mhm.
tone, the sound and color or light and sound is the physicality that we're made of, that people say is the spirit or the soul, whatever. When they say something, someone is dying, it's this sound light thing. Light and sound is still physical. Uh,
Mhm.
but relating to dying every day, it's also related to the same phrase as know thyself. And most people won't hear the message in it because we get consumed with knowing in the form of consuming information and in intellect just going out and crazy instead of N-O-I-N-G, knowing,
Mhm.
off off the self. That's like I said in the Galactic Gang song, know thyself, then off thyself, selfless. You know what I'm saying? When it's the same similar concept as, yes, the self is beautiful. It's sound and light. But lie, you hear the word lie in light?
Mhm.
The word lie is in light. You hear the word illusion in illumination.
Mhm.
In what's an illustration? You know, it's a drawing of color. Uh, that's a that's what we are. We are these illustrations with this illusion mixed in it because it's all Maya. All forms are illusion. All forms are Maya. The divine Leela that we get to play in this illusion.
Mhm.
Uh, I never want my playing in this to make it seem like that's saying that this is imaginary, like that this is some airy fairy existence where people aren't actually suffering and people aren't actually experiencing the results of these illusions. They are.
Mhm.
People are
Mhm.
experiencing that, and so that's something that we always have to wind back into the conversation because we're tasked with more of a bodhisattva type of thing, where compassion has to be the base of any of these uh, ponderings, or else it will lead to nihilism. It will lead to uh, God complexes or to helplessness, hopeless feelings. Who knows what? When emptiness is faced without compassion, it it leads to insanity.
Mhm. Did you see that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yo, we started watching it, and we didn't get through it. I I know why I didn't get through it because I was on a little mushrooms that didn't, and it was moving the way
That'd
that
be a
my
tough one.
mind didn't want the movie to move the way I was feeling. So
Mhm.
I gotta reapproach it without those there.
Yeah, it kind of touches on that idea of like once you become conscious of everything everywhere all at once, and you have this infinite ability to move around, and you see that every possibility is a reality that we could visit. The protagonist character developed this just deep state of depression and nihilism, and just thinking this is all there's nothing has any meaning. It reminds me of that the verse from the Bible that you could have, and I'm paraphrasing. It's just that you could have everything in life. You could have all the cities and powers, but if you don't have love, it's like a resounding gong. You could have all of this, but then that could just lead to, yeah, you just seeing everything as meaningless and pointless, and nothing that I do matters. So
Right.
it feels like the crucial key ingredient is always that connection with the divine qualities of love, peace, joy, wisdom, and then we can appreciate all of it. Just like in our lives, we can have all of these luxuries, we can have all of these great things, but we can just go through our life completely bored and somehow, even though we're in this video game of infinite possibilities and connections and fractals. So, yeah, really, it seems to also when we take time in meditation to quiet the mind and open the heart, turn off the body, hit pause on the movie of our life, that we get refreshed with this new vigor for life again. and to appreciate it in new ways. So yeah, I really like that song. When I heard it, I was like, yeah, this is really kind of putting into words a lot of the things, because I have a similar style about, I make sacred art, but it has oftentimes a bit of a dark vibe to it. And for me, it comes from facing the darkness and finding the light within that darkness, really doing that work where you come across it. Like I like it, I do a weekly meditation group, and with that group I've been practicing with them lately of using the concentration technique, and just imagine this darkness and there's a dragon like right in front of your eyes. There's just breathing, and that's just the dragon of mind chatter. And as we focus deeper and deeper on the technique, that dragon is just losing its power and we're gaining its power. And as we drift off and we lose connection to the technique, then the dragon's becoming more powerful and taking our power. It Yogananda also talks a lot about how one of the big thing that stifles someone who's on the spiritual path is a lack of spiritual adventurousness, a lack of having this heroic mindset of really going in and going into the dark forest and facing the demons and the dragons, so that we can overcome that and find the light on the other side. So yeah, I resonate with that type of shadow work to,
Yeah.
be able to walk through hard times with a smile, when it's real or when it's a fake smile. Mm. Another, one of your, I love your Instagram, the tweets that you put out. You're always putting out really kind of thought-provoking messages here. One of the recent ones you have here, it says, "Life is not short. Life is all there is. Life has no opposite. Birth and death are opposites, yet they both exist in life, and they both support life." And that idea that most people think that, yeah, life and death are opposites, but we don't really die. When we go to sleep and we dream, that's our consciousness is there with us. The Bhagavad Gita says that which occupies the mind at the moment of death determines the destination of the dying. That we continue on. This is what all of the great sages and all of the ancient books tell us. So I thought that was a nice one to contemplate, that, it's birth and death that are the opposites here in this duality.
Yeah, we get that confused a lot. And I mean, it could be just called semantics to some people, but there seems to be an underlying existence regardless of whether birth or death happens. So that's the life we're talking about. It's like there, even the body is still living when it dies, because it's it's still in existence. Existence itself is life. It's not like just because when the tree uh when the leaves fall off the tree and it look dead during the winter, you know what I'm saying? And they come back every year. Like this happened every year, all in most places in the world, in many places of the world, like everything starts looking dead, but it's all still alive. There's still life under all of that darkness. It's pretty cool to look at, like if you go to the forest in the wintertime and just be with the light that's hidden in the darkness, that's hidden in the depth, and be with the pre-birth that's about to come. Uh, that's a fun, it's a powerful meditation.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, being able to see that reflected back at us in the symbols of nature can really help give us some clues about the reality that we're in. just like in the sacred art, there's all the symbols that you see in the sacred art is a lot of times pointing to elements in nature that we can relate to, that help point to reflection of what God is. If all of this is created in God's image, then all of these symbols, like you were saying, relate back to an astral or a spiritual truth or reality that exists, and then we're just seeing the physical reflection of that here in this life.
Yeah, that's in the human physical body is probably the one of the greatest fractals. Well, I'll say it for our intents and purposes, it is the greatest one because it's the greatest physical thing, the greatest physical possession that you have. An intelligence designed this thing that is so masterful that, like, even the Ganesh behind you, there was an elephant head put on the body on this physical body of a person. The way that a person's body is shaped, there's a reason for that. Like when you look in certain scriptures, or when you look in old school temples, like homie breaks it down a lot. John Anthony West, who the serpent in the sky, and a few other Egyptologists, they show like how the temple, how your body, you can't see it that well on the screen, but like the physical body is always at the center of the mysteries. When the Temple of Luxor or the Temple of Dendera, the ratios of the Vitruvian Man, which you can find the ratios of pyramids, the same ratios and proportions we use to build most of the megalithic and monolith structures around the world. You see the same ratios of the human body found inside that. And so most people will look at these temples and they automatically want to think about the stars and like how they're aligned to the stars. And that's great. Like, yeah, that's part of it. But then they align right back to our body. And that's the part we have access to. That's the part we can touch, feel, make love with, do stuff with. And so the ancients have always been pointing to your vehicle, to the spaceship, by making these connections with these megaliths and these monuments that not only connect with the stars and as above as we can sort of see from here, but they relate right back to our own physicality. And if we start looking for the layers under that we could see, which is probably like atomic or cellular, we'll also find this similar things revealed in these buildings, because it's an as above below situation.
It's hearing things like that and being tuned into those kind of things that makes me so just excited and curious just about just having a physical body, how wonderful that is. Yogananda would talk about, it's like, you all love to experiment, you love to test things, you like to experiment on things. Experiment on yourself, experiment with yourself. We have this, sometimes it just clicks in my mind, or I'll just be, be having sort of a pleasant day and it'll just click in my mind just to, all I need is this body, and just to go inward, and it's got everything that I need to be happy and to know the secrets of the universe is all contained within us. And the more omnipresent we become with our body, we can learn even to heal and regenerate the cells. I know when I was in Miami, you gave me this book. Let's see if we could see it here. Yeah. So living examples of physical immortality. And by the way, it was so great. When I was in Miami, that was when I first met Chris Dyer. My brother and I were painting a mural there in Wynwood, 40-foot mural of Hanuman around the corner. And Chris rolled up while we were painting over there and then gave us a flyer for a Moksha Collective for the show that he opened there. I hadn't met Chris before, but I've been a fan of his work. And it turns out he actually just moved to St. Pete, Florida, where I live, which was like super cool. And so he gave me a flyer for that show, and then I didn't, even when I was coming to see, I didn't even know that you were going to be there. So that was just like, wow, what is this? So I went in there. That was just, and your music, his artwork. I mean, Chris Dyer had so much artwork there because moving to Florida, he had the whole collection that he has. So filling that place with all of that work, plus the medicine artwork that was there, and the Aztec dancers that were there. That was a magical night. And then getting to hear you perform and speak was one of my top moments of Basel. I've been going for, I was telling Chris, like, I've been coming here for 15 years. That was my favorite show. So that was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a great time to be there myself. I felt like it was the perfect convergence, and it was just, little intention, a little energy put to making it happen. That people was about it, but it's not like it was this overly managed type thing. It came together with synchronicity and auspiciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could tell that that's what it was. And, Moksha Collective is a small space. So it's a very intimate setting. Just, the people are supposed to be there are there. And it was, yeah, just really nice having those kind of outlets these days of an intimate space, getting to see somebody that's been doing it as long as you in a small room with that kind of engaged audience. Was really cool. I guess we could talk a little bit. I mean, that was a Galactic Gang NFT drop party. So cool to meet Chris and to see what you guys have been doing with the Galactic Gang. I love the track that you created for the Galactic Gang. And I've been getting I've transitioned into Web3 this year, moving, seeing that as a way to do more and more of what I want to do creatively, and to build an audience that is more tuned in than just scrolling quickly through their Instagrams. So really kind of tuned into deeper messages and stories that we could tell through, the Web3 space. So I've been enjoying it. It was nice. I didn't know if I was creating stuff for an audience that didn't exist, but then when I start to meet others that are spiritually active in this Web3 world, it's like, okay, there's more of us. There's people that are ready for this, and been very encouraged. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad you're in the space, and it's important for people who have visionary or spirit visions to be in all places that society is progressing into, so that those ideas, that heart, that attitude of that dharma, that Christ consciousness, or whatever we feel best expressing it as, it could be there. That's why I'm in Web3. I mean, am I looking for benefit monetarily? Yeah, of course, but that's not my main priority. The main thing is, I was creating uh, currency long before the blockchain,
Mm.
Babaji money,
Wow. Yeah.
$1,008,
Wow.
and I would trade this money around for things. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got my avatar,
Yeah.
right? Baba chilling.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and so I would make this. You know, my teacher Leonard Orr, he's the one who developed this with his community. I was the first to put it on the parchment paper. So one time I seen him uh in California, I went to go visit him. He was doing this. This is one of my teachers, and he, I had the Babaji money with, and I was able to trade it to him for a book. I'm looking for the book, but it's like this book that's worth $1,500 now. It's this rare book you can't even
Wow.
get nowhere else. And so playing that game of learning how to print your own currency, seeing that it takes something, seeing that to convince someone, what is the convincing factor that makes someone want to exchange with your currency? This is could would be more seen like an NFT type of currency because of the fact that the value is sort of contained just within the rarity of this being somewhat like a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how you now someone could be like, well, I could just print it myself, and they could. I would give people the files to print it themselves. Has anyone ever came around me with any one little kid, one of my kids' friends went ahead and started printing his own and started playing with the game of Babaji money. But that was why crypto made sense to me because I was just like,
You're already
it's
doing
about
it.
yeah, it's about time we start having alternative currencies. Like here's from
Mm-hmm.
New Hampshire, here's Goldback from New Hampshire. Uh, these are complementary currencies. There's tons of places that have cash that it has nothing to do with the Federal Reserve. That's why I laugh at people when they try to fear you and fudge you like they're trying to make a cashless society. There'll be no cash someday.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, yo, can you get some paper, cut it up, put some denominations on it, and agree upon something with you and your people? Then you
Right.
can create cash. It's
That's
like,
it.
shut up, stop being in fear. We got the power right now and here. It's all in our heart, our head, and our ear. You know what I'm saying? Don't call me
Mm-hmm.
Shakespeare. I got a bust a rap because that's just how I do. You know, I got the flow. I'm coming through cool now. Just
No, I like that. Yeah, that's even Yogananda would talk about these times as saying that, the money that we're holding now isn't going to be worth the paper it's printed on, and to start thinking about new ways of moving through currencies. One of my teachers that started Ananda, Swami Kriyananda, he's been talking about this for a long time of we need to have new currencies, and seeing how these really are so becoming possible, and then putting them on the blockchain and just taking that to new levels that we didn't even see coming a while back. And now we can have our own communities, make our own currencies, have these things that will be an ecosystem for us. It's so cool just to see how these predictions from the sages talking about we need to gather in like-minded communities, we need to have our own money, we need to be there and have each other's backs when tough gets tough. And it's cool to see that coming to us through our technology, even pushing us in that direction. And so yeah, I'm really encouraged by seeing where things are going, and being here in this time where AI is hitting the tipping point of mainstream and all of these things. We're in this super sci-fi movie that has heroes and villains and all of the juicy stuff you could want from any movie. And the more we get around, I think it's important, just like what you're talking about, is the more we get around good company of people that are not afraid to die, not afraid of sickness, not afraid of the dollar becoming worthless. The more that you get around people like that, the more you get to just enjoy this movie and ride the waves, like yogis are big wave surfers. We're here to ride these big waves and enjoy it as much as possible and help others who are afraid.
Yeah, I thought, well, that made me think about one of the things I like to call this whole experience, because when you observe reality through that double slit experiment, they said on one side it's a wave, you know, and if you observe it in a different way, they say it's a particle. And so it, the way that things are observed, changes how that the result of how you're going to see it. But I always like the words wave and particle, because it's like a wavy party. Like that's the way I see it. I don't see it as a wave or a particle. I just see it like I'm having a wavy party.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
That's how I
It's not as solid
that's
as
how
you think. Yeah, it's not as solid as they think. It's wavy.
exactly. That's how I
Mhm.
see wave. That's how I see flat Earth too. Like, yeah, so many people see it as round. So many people see it as flat. I don't know why. People have their reasons, but it's the observation tools. It's the same thing. It's the double slit experiment, but expanded to not a particle or a wave, but to a whole planet. And most people, they're not going to get that because they're too invested in one or the other. I don't care. So I could be in a wavy party, baby. Woo!
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, man, I'll remember that one. Mm. Another thing I was going to ask you about, I know we're coming up on, we want to stick to an hour here. I know you got a trip in the morning, and so I want to be mindful of your time here. I got so many things to talk to you about, so maybe we'll do another one here in the future. But another thing that
We will. Yeah.
when cool, when I was looking into all the music that you had to offer, I found the Anahata Sacred Sound Current, and that album Whispers from Eternity on there, which is one of my favorite books from Paramhansa Yogananda, as a way to communicate with the divine, come to the divine not as a beggar, but as a child of the emperor of the universe, or a child of the divine mother, and to cast your sacred demands through the third eye to the infinite and to receive what you're asking for. And that album, it had the poem from Yogananda Samadhi, which is a great one to memorize. For it's a fully awakened master avatar guru writing poetry in English about the experience of Christ consciousness, infinite samadhi bliss, for us to tune into and to use that as casting a spell or an affirmation for when that's going to happen, because it will happen for all of us. But being able to tune into that, and then hearing that combined with music, that just blew my mind. Like, I was like, I can't believe that I'm listening to this on Spotify right now through hip hop artists. How did that come about, and where did that come from? Or just maybe a little bit about that collaboration.
So Anahata is Kriya Yogi, linked up strong with Yogananda himself, and I've been linked with the Siddha gang and the all my yogi brethren and sisters since I started building in the squad too, uh, as a shorty, uh, in the late '90s, as far
Mm,
as the yogic uh, path goes, and uh, or mid '90s actually. But Anahata, we started building musically when around 2000, early 2000, maybe 2004, something like that. Uh, I don't remember where it was me, him, sometimes Atma. Those were my some of my people I was remember, like those are people I know physically. Some of the other cats on the Anahata albums, uh, I just worked with them from a distance. So Whispers from Eternity, and what song do I have on there? Is it like I forget Joyful Sound? There might be someone where I said there's one where I'm talking about Hanuman, isn't there?
Mm.
Where I said like tear open a heart like Hanuman or something.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna have to go back and find that lyric. Yeah. I
Yeah,
know I'm taking you far back into the archives here.
yeah, that it was like I did that before I met Anahata. We were just it was like a group of people online who were just into yoga, yogic, hip hop. When I say yoga, I'm talking about the siddhas and the sadhus and the wisdom of the scripture type yogis. And
Wow.
so me and him and Atma, and then later on, Son of Saturn, uh, who else began building? Uh, there was Kalki, and we did what else? The Sadhu Militia projects and the what's the name of them spaceships in India, Vimanas? Is that the name of
This the spaceships. I mean, I know the one that like Ravana rode the pushpak.
they come well, they're
There's
usually
others.
yeah, that's his but
Hmm.
particularly, but I think they're called Vimanas. So
Hmm.
we had a group called Vimanas too.
Cool.
So it was all just putting out like yogic Sanskrit based hip hop because that those were the things I was immersed in. Like I would kick it at the Krishna temple here in Chicago and go visit all types of temples around. I never
Mm.
became like a, initiated to any of them things because the that just wasn't the path to be initiated into something that's sort of restrictive. Uh, so,
Hmm.
but I've
Cool.
always participated a lot.
Yeah, being able to go in and merge with the different all the different paths and different ways and teachings and all of that all are saying the same thing. It's cool. Like I was expecting to go back into the archives and find your gangster rap, your earlier years where you weren't talking about these kind of subjects, but it is like, no, it was all the way through. It was, so I was going to ask you a little bit about that, what kind of brought you onto a spiritual path? It sounds like you were tuned into it and seeking that from really an early age and going to visit temples. Maybe the last little bit here, we could just talk about that initial, what kind of brought you on, what, maybe picking up from it in a past life, obviously.
Well, it does feel like ever since I was little, there was this just a connection to God, and it felt like it was connection through my parents and through nature. So I would, when I think back to what was my spiritual connection as a shorty, that's what it felt like. My parents and nature as a baby. And then as I got bigger, like there was no concept of God until later till people start talking about it. And then that became an actual concept for me as a person. And like the spiritual nature of things, like those just ordinary life was the that was already the thing. But then people started talking, and then you learn words, and then
Complicating things.
yeah, then you get these ideas about things, and so that was a path that I took, because the main thing I would hear was God and Jesus. And so I decided to go look at that as a little kid. And I decided to read the Bible as a little kid. And my parents didn't make it wasn't their thing. They were doing other stuff. I was doing that on my own. And then I was getting kicked out of church on my own. And then I was going to explore Hebrew Israelite, Islam, Asar, Aset, Rastafari. But exploring Rastafari was always, for me, it was just like Christ was in my life. It was a one. We was good. He let me know that he's in many other appearance. God's love is one. When he says he's one, that oneness is all and everywhere. So don't confine me. And then I realized Christ, Rastafari, Haile Selassie, that this was the same. It's the same thing for me. Like I don't need to explain it to nobody. I don't need to prove it to them. I could get scriptures and do all that, but no, it's just Christ showed me what that was. So went that way. Then Selassie, Christ showing me to make sure I explore everything, even the most hated, the most feared, Lucifer, Satan, explore not believing in God, explore atheism, explore it all, so that you can know me and know why this is strength for you, know why this resonates for you, by knowing all these other things and also being able to see my glory in it all. And so I did. And, if you look around, you can see books on all the walls, like all the way going back, these books. And these aren't novels and things. It's either most of it's spiritual knowledge. A lot of it is how to build heaven on earth knowledge. It's like one of the
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for going back in time with us a little bit. I was curious about that, and so nice to connect with others. That's more, that's what I'm learning and doing as well, gathering with others, because we are co-creators in this dream. It's can go either way, like that double slit experiment. And the more that we can gather with others who are seeing life in this way, recognizing that we are co-creating our reality, that when we uplift ourselves, we're actually uplifting our perception of the universe around us.
Right.
And when we're uplifting ourselves, we are able to heal others with that. We're able to bless others with that. We're able to raise a vibration. We don't even need to say anything. We can be a blessing to people. So it's nice to be connecting with others in this space. I just started doing a weekly, calling it Warriors of Light, just gathering with other like-minded souls and communities, whether it be through Web3 or anybody through my meditation group, and connecting. So every Tuesday now at 11 a.m. Eastern, we gather on Twitter Spaces, small meditation, Warrior of Light affirmation, and just see the world filled with light, healing, that we're blessing the technologies that are coming. We're blessing the Mother Earth, because I feel like what happens around us is Brahma, the creator, is creating for an audience, and we're that audience. So what we're asking for is what we're getting. We're asking for it. What we're imagining and visualizing. We're his audience, so we need to ask for what we would like to see, and rather than just imagining doom and gloom all the time. So just gathering with friends regularly to do that.
Yeah, some people say that Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra are the three aspects of our own mind. the creative aspect, the maintaining aspect, and the destructive aspect, and that we put things into creation, and then Vishnu or the preserver preserves these realities, and to change it, the only way to change your reality is through Shiva, through Rudra, who can destroy the any of the other previous creations, and it's our Vishnu aspect that maintains what we want to keep, flourishing, just like the avatars of Vishnu are here to try to maintain that relationship between devotees and remove the miscreants who get in the way of that loving relation. So that's what the maintaining aspect of the mind is to be doing. And the Brahma aspect is the liar. That's the one who lied on Shiva. When Brahma went up and Vishnu went down, when that lingam popped in the and Brahma started going all the way up looking for the flower. Oh no, Brahma went up looking for the top of the thing, and Vishnu went down looking for the bottom of the Shiva lingam, and they went for billions of years, couldn't find none. And one day, a flower came, and Brahma was like, "Yo, flower, what's up? Where the heck did you come from?" And he was like, "I've been falling for like 700 eternities times 5 trillion from off the top of this thing. I was placed there as an offering to this Shiva lingam, Lord Shiva or something." And they was like, "Huh? What, Lord Shiva? What's that? I don't know nothing about that. You can you he said, I was going to try, I'm in an argument with Vishnu right now, trying to prove to him that I'm the superior God."
Yeah.
It's like, yo, can we corroborate this story to say that I made it to the top and took you off of the top? And the flower was like, "Yeah, you gonna do that. I need
Yeah.
you to do it." They just conspired together. And then Brahma was like, "Yo, Vishnu, I made it." And they tried, they came back down and got together. And then Brahma started lying, like, "Yeah, I made it to the top and I got this flower." And then the next thing you know, Shiva poof, pops out in a regular form, in his Shiva form, not in Shiva Lingam, but he got arms, he got the locks, he's just chilling. He's like, "Yo, Brahma, you lying.
Liar. Yeah.
You ain't finna have no temples. You on Vishnu. You wasn't lying. You just went along with this thing, and so you're gonna have temples. People gonna love you." And basically, that's also a story of like how that creative aspect of our mind, woo, that mark can send you off for a doozy. That mark will lie and make up all types of weird shit. So you don't wanna lean on your own understanding, like the scriptures say. That's what that story is about. Don't lean on Brahma like that.
Yeah, I feel that. I like that. Thank you. That'll stick with me. I like that. Having that image of these are three within us. These are three energies. These are three characteristics that are always flowing through us. So be careful.
Who's Brahma's wife?
Saraswati.
Now her, you can lean on.
Yeah.
And Saraswati is music and learning and that excellent powers of the mind. And so that is who you want to tune into when you're thinking about Brahma. Tap into Ma. Tap into Ma. She'll handle the creations properly.
Yeah, that's a beautiful. If you're looking to tune into a deity, that's a great starting point. Asking Saraswati, even if you find yourself bored with life, you can ask Saraswati, I want to know. I want to learn. I want to create. And the more that you ask for that, she can come in and provide that for you and be there with you. And thank you so much. I want to be cautious of your time. I know that you're going to be doing some traveling here soon. I
Yeah.
would love to connect with you again. I see you're back on Twitter now. And
Yeah.
so that's great. Maybe we could do a space sometime. Can get the Galactic Gang in. We can get some friends in and keep chopping this stuff up. It'd be fun to talk more about Hanuman and the Ramayana with you sometime. That's a huge love of mine and what I've been focusing my artwork around and getting so much benefit from that deity has
Yeah.
been wonderful. I like to end with
Straight to the heart. Yeah.
yeah, Hanuman. And I don't if there's anything else that you'd like to share before we close. Anything that you want to share or ways that people can get at you. I know your Instagram and your Twitter are very active. And then yeah.
You just find me Twitter on Instagram, Illuminati Congo, the same way you see it spelled here. Type that in YouTube or Spotify. You can hear music talking about the stuff I'm talking about here. My music usually talking about that there. So
It certainly
looking
does.
forward to connecting.
Hmm. Thank you. And I always like to end with some words from Paramhansa Yogananda. This is, I think, a very nice one about this is about overcoming inferiority complex or superiority complex, and a little bit about what we were talking about tonight of surrounding yourself with people that are aspirational, people that are gonna help you to become the version of yourself that you would like to be. They say that it's so that our company can be very powerful, can be more powerful than our own independent will to strive for greatness. If we're around a lot of others who are striving for greatness, then we really kind of that rubs off on us and we catch that vibe. So this is Paramhansa Yogananda, and then we'll close our time together. And he says, an inferiority complex is born of contact with weak-minded people and the weak, innate subconscious mind. A superiority complex comes from false pride and inflated ego. Both inferiority and superiority complexes are destructive to self development. Both are fostered by imagination, while neither belongs to the true, all powerful nature of the soul. Develop confidence by conquering your weakness. Found your self confidence on actual achievements, and you will be free from all inferiority and superiority complexes. Om, peace. Amen.